Thank you all for joining, and thanks for NISA for organizing this online webinar. So I'm gonna basically tackle the issue of building trust amidst the protest movement. I'm Zine Labidine Ghebouli. I work for the Asfari Institute at the American University of Beirut, and I look at the political trends across Algeria. What we've noticed throughout the past year is that both, whether in Algeria, in Lebanon, or even in Sudan and in Iraq at certain point, the trust mechanisms were nowhere to be found, and the trust cycle broke basically between the government and the people. This is one reason why millions of people in these four countries have went out to protest, and in many countries as well. They brought down the current establishment, or the current facade of the establishment, as it happened in both Algeria and Lebanon. However, they have not managed so far to strengthen the trust relationship between the government and the people. For one main simple reason, these protestants are not dealing with one issue, or one simple situation. They are dealing with an establishment that's been here for, in most countries, at least 50 years. So throughout the past 50 years, this trust has been demolished by the practices of the system, just as much as by the consciousness of the society at certain point. Now it seems that the entire region is opening up for a new adventure. It's unclear so far how's that adventure gonna change the region. I think the change dynamics are still ongoing in all the regions, specifically in Algeria and Lebanon. However, I think uh, for the protest movements to actually be able to re-establish trust, it's not a one-side operation. It must be carried out by both parties, by the current establishment or the current political system, and also by the protest movements. First, by the systems, I think it is unmanageable that any person would believe the government if this government is repressive, or is corrupt, or is incompetent to handle the current affairs of the country. And that's what we've been seeing both in Algeria and in Lebanon. People do not trust the government anymore after at least 30 to 50 years of failures, and that's completely understandable. So I think before we ask about the protest movement's ability to re-establish trust, it's inevitable to actually provide a certain environment for this trust. And this environment cannot be provided by the protest movements. It can only be provided by the governments, because they have the authority. And it's a matter of authority and law before all, not only of willingness or a desire to reestablish trust. Uh, on the other hand, it's true that even if the government is willing, nothing would probably happen without an organization of the protest movements. I think one of the reasons why we're still stuck in this trust issue in this region is because neither the government is ready to assume its responsibilities, nor are the protest movements ready to provide an alternative. And we've seen that in Lebanon, in Algeria, in Sudan, was a bit of a different case with the leading military junta. But also in Iraq, we've seen the same issue. People go out to protest, they manage to bring down the system, they don't trust the system. However, they are unable to bring a new system, or bring an alternative that could be trusted by them. And I think this has to do with the fact that for the past 30 to 50 years, again, the civil society has been dismantled in most of the region, because the ruling systems believed at certain point that the civil society is a threat to the continuity of their rule. So when you dismantle the civil society, or when you dismantle even the political scene at certain point, it's very hard to bring an alternative, or even talk about trust. So, and just to finish, I think how can protest movements lead the way or reestablish trust? I think it's first a matter of providing an environment, a suitable environment for them to work. We cannot ask the protest movements to do anything if they are prosecuted, persecuted, and put in jail by the governments. It's impossible to encourage young folks or young activists to engage and to play their role in the development of their country if their fellow citizens are in jail. And this is exactly one of the problems that we're facing right now as we encourage Algerians young Algerians to engage in public policy. The second thing, I think, the second condition is working on the protest movements. I understand that the past period must have been tough for the entire region, and that it's pretty difficult to get out of the situation that was created because of 50 years of policies. And I understand that most of the societies in this region are only beginning to rediscover their identity, to rediscover their problems, and to even rediscover those who rule them. However, I think at this point it's vital and necessary to organize the protest movement and to talk about an alternative, not only about some masses who show some sort of popular discontent and who are anti-government. I think it's time to move from the anti-government perspective to the pro-change, proactive uh, perspective that would allow the protest movements not only to oppose but to provide something, to provide an alternative, because this alternative will help will help open up the doors for constructive dialogue. And this is exactly what we need to establish trust. We need a dialogue between the government and the people. We need to re-establish the rules that the government actually cares about the people, and the people actually assume their civic responsibilities. Other than that, I think we're gonna be turning in kind of vicious cycle, because neither part at this point is ready to assume their responsibilities, unfortunately. However, I'm hopeful that with the new generation we're gonna witness a new wave of leadership that could actually fix this trust issue. It will require much time and effort and even sacrifices at a certain point, but I think it's still possible, especially with the help from the civil society and from the international community. Thank you.